Hi, I'm Carol from Soul Fitness. What do you know about osteoporosis? That's what I'm going to talk about today. What do you know about it? I had to do a fair bit of research to find out about osteoporosis, but it's very relevant to me because I am 60 and it's very relevant as you get older because osteoporosis is the decrease in bone density that gives you a high risk of a bone fracture. So really important for people as they're getting older, and particularly for women. Okay, so the reason for that is because when we go through perimenopause and menopause and the estrogen in our body decreases, the estrogen has an effect on bone density and helps in the bone building process. So when your estrogen is reduced, that bone building process is less effective because bones are actually living matter, they're living things. So they degenerate and they also rebuild. So if the degeneration is faster than the rebuilding, you're going to get problems with osteoporosis, or osteopenia is what happens before osteoporosis. It's when your bone density is less than average. So if your bone density is less than average before you go into menopause or perimenopause, then that puts you at high risk of osteoporosis and bone fractures. And really you're not going to know it. You're not going to know if you've got low bone density unless you go for something called a DEXA scan. And I was sent for one of those fairly recently, which is why I've done quite a bit of research on it. Because I'm 60 and I've been on a long-term medication, which apparently, and they have only just told me this, can affect bone density and the way that you build new bone. So they sent me for the scan because they said I may be at risk because of my age and also being on the medication. Luckily, that came back that my bone density was normal. So there are things that you can do, and you do need to protect your bones because it's really important. You don't want to be having hip fractures, bone fractures, spine fractures when you're older, because that is, you might die. Lots of people die from having a hip fracture in old age. 1 in 2 women over 60 will have a fracture due to osteoporosis. So it really is very important for us to think about protecting our bones. And there's lots of ways we can do that. And obviously the biggest way to help protect your bones is through exercise. And you might be thinking, oh, she would say that because she teaches exercise, but seriously, the scientific evidence is there. Weight-bearing exercise, so you need to do something more than 3 times a week, I would say. Do as much as possible, as much movement as possible. So weight-bearing exercise, which is something like walking, dancing, squats, that kind of thing. Any kind of weight-bearing exercise you need to be doing several times a week. A little bit of cardio, so anything that raises your heart rate. And really important, strength training. So using weights, using things like dumbbells, kettlebells, whatever you've got, barbells, resistance bands, that's all strength training. So you need to be putting your bones against resistance, basically, and building muscle. That is going to protect your bones and stop them from the density getting too low and causing osteoporosis. Things like alcohol, smoking, cut that back because that makes your bones decrease in density faster. I've spoke about menopause speeds bone loss, and also eating, healthy eating. So in the UK, the sunlight is not strong enough for us to get enough vitamin D in the winter time. So I would recommend that you take a vitamin D supplement. Take plenty of calcium because vitamin D and calcium interact. Without vitamin D, the calcium can't produce strong bones. So you need both of those. So you need to be drinking plenty of milk, eating cheese, anything with calcium. So diet and exercise, they're the two key components of maintaining your healthy bones and reducing the risk of osteoporosis and bone fracture. So look after your bones, folks. See you soon.